The US. Our people, our culture, our media, obsessed with road trips. And while this certainly stems from our imperialist history and belief in finding fulfillment through discovering new places rather than cultivating the lives we already have at home, I am no exception. I love a good road trip, and almost a year ago, a friend and I saved up a bunch of money to rent a car and drive from Florida to Seattle and back over the course of 2 weeks. Part of our journey involved listening to albums by artists from whichever state or region we were driving through. We did all of them. Witches in Tennessee, Hendrix and Soundgarden in Seattle, Sleater Kinney in Olympia, AJJ in the Southwest, the Butthole Surfers in Texas. It was great. And one of the albums we were both especially excited for was Built to Spill's 1994 There's Nothing Wrong with Love, which we listened to as we drove from Boise, Idaho to Twin Falls, Idaho. A song named after the town you're from being on your most famous record should be pretty conspicuous, right? But Built to Spill's song Twin Falls is hidden on the B-side, and clocking in at 1 minute and 49 seconds, it's easy to miss. I know I never really paid a whole lot of attention to it, at least until we were driving through an incredibly dusty sunset 2,300 miles from home. Do you hear it? Do you hear this romantic sappiness intruding on my narration? Anyway, the song kicks off with a sequence of 3 childhood memories, each told in 3 lines. Christmas, Twin Falls, Idaho is her oldest memory. She was only 2. It was the first time she felt blue. Very nice. A little edgy from the outset. It's a little interesting that this is the only stanza told essentially from the girl's perspective, as if she related it to our narrator later on. In contrast, the other 2 memories are squarely from his perspective. Cafeteria, Harrison Elementary. Beneath a parachute, I saw her without shoes. 7-Up, I touched her thumb, and she knew it was me, although she couldn't see, unless of course she peeked. Is that not mad cute? I also never realized that Heads Up 7-Up existed outside of my own elementary school. I'd always just figured it was something like my 2nd grade teacher made up until I heard it in this song by other people from Idaho, so that was kind of cool. These memories are of childhood, but also appear to move in chronological order. Also, we don't ever see the narrator interacting with the girl. Like, there's the 7-Up thing, but that doesn't really count as communication. So that's interesting. We don't know if they're actually friends or if they spent a significant amount of time with each other. It's possible she's not that important to him, except, of course, that now he's writing a song about her. The second half, the song switches focus. My mom's good. She got me out of Twin Falls, Idaho, before I got too old. You know how that goes. The you know how that goes, I think, is really important. It's our key that the thing our narrator's mother is protecting him from is not unique or personal. It should be understandable to any audience member purely through implication. Sometimes it's poverty, sometimes it's for demographic reasons. By keeping it vague, the narrator can speak to all of the reasons that people come to feel stifled and unwell in the places they come from. That's where she still was the summer she turned 17, 1983, 3 weeks after me. Last I heard was she had twins, or maybe it was 3, although I've never seen, but that don't bother me. I'm concerned a lot with the idea of indigeneity, probably not surprising since I study Native American languages for a living, and as a white American, I'm also concerned a lot with the ways in which we create a sense of place despite our somewhat unique non-indigeneity. Our narrator is from Twin Falls. That place and the people there shaped him into the person who will sing this song. And yet at a young age, he's plucked away from that, and his ultimate moral assessment of his mother's decision to uproot him is that she was good for doing so. In fact, her getting him out of Twin Falls is the evidence he cites to justify the broadly phrased claim that my mom's good. And ultimately, I think that's what the song is about, the feeling that the right thing to do is leave, is to move on. Our narrator wants us, and themselves, to believe that the natural 18-line progression of this song is to grow up and move on, and he tries to convince us in the last stanza that even as this significant figure from his childhood is participating in the generational cycle herself, he's indifferent. I think this is a good time to bring up an element of the song that's musical rather than lyrical. For the second half of the part, where Doug March is singing, the chord progression, which is twinkled along underneath the vocals, is supplemented with an octave-based riff. This is a big part of Built to Spill's style and an essential part of the sound of this particular moment in indie rock. The octave doesn't really have like a lot of harmonic flavor, so it usually feels to me like the guitarists of this era are using it as a way to both keep their melodies punk and simple while also having a solid bass accompaniment to their main line, all while avoiding the heaviness of full power chords. But then, when the lyrics are done, all the other instrumentals cut out, and for 8 seconds, we do get power chords. Check it out. While we have these transitional G sharps and Bs, what's fundamentally happening here is sliding back and forth between F sharp and A. This is a minor third interval, and while intervals don't really have like inherent moods, the minor third is the basic sad interval. Its common emotional associations, at least in our culture, are dark or negative emotions, and an accompaniment with the sudden use of full power chords, this shuffling back and forth conveys an inarguable frustration in the narrator's mind. conclusion, the narrator is lying. You don't really need that music theory to recognize it, you can kind of hear it in the lyrics, but I like the way that the musical coda of the song really punctuates what the lyrics imply. The narrator is writing a song about this girl because of course he's bothered, and that dissonance between what the speaker tells us they feel and what they actually feel represents two conflicting elements of our cultural psyche. The need to escape and to grow and to become more than the circumstances of one's birth, but also the need to belong, to feel rooted, to be connected to our communities. In my experience as an American, it often feels like the expected arc of a successful life should take you away from where you were born, probably to a city. If you end up spending your 20s and 30s in the town you were born in, you've failed in some way. In contrast, when I visited the Netherlands in high school, the family that I stayed with said that they'd been living in the same village for literally 900 years, and they joked that one of them had a brother who had moved away to a different town and that they didn't talk to him anymore. Wanting to go and make something yourself or of your life isn't inherently a bad thing, but the song shows us the cost incurred when it is assumed, either fairly or unfairly, that you cannot have a fulfilling life in the place where you grew up. Some people come from terrible places, some people really do need to get out, but when the speaker's mother, however good she is, gets him out of Twin Falls, she breaks a little bit of his ability to love. And maybe it's worth it, but it's still sad.